Hi everyone. Now it's my distinct pleasure to introduce our guest, Ms. Avesani. Ms. Avesani is the Global Sustainability Director at the Oracle Corporation, where she works with a global team of stakeholders to drive Oracle's sustainability programs and to pioneer technology solutions for global, social, as well as environmental challenges. During her former role, Ms. Avesani has worked as a product manager designing supply chain management, customer relationship management, as well as e-commerce software applications. Now it's my honor to welcome our guest, Ms. Avesani, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to talk about sustainability with students, with the new generation. I don't think I have the privilege to share the presentation. Who's disabled participant sharing, screen sharing? Can you?
I just made you the co-host, so you can do it now.
Great. As our kind host mentioned, I manage Oracle's own global sustainability program. I've been at Oracle for many years, and if you're not familiar with Oracle, we are one of the largest IT companies in the world. We are leaders in the database industry. We also provide customers with cloud solutions, with enterprise management software. We have more than 400 large organizations that use Oracle software to manage their own businesses. We work very closely with a lot of governments as well. So we have a very powerful role in terms of what we can do with our customers to support their journey towards a more sustainable way to do business. I have been managing the global program since 2008. So that tells you that Oracle has looked into sustainability for more than 15 years now. Our programs has evolved over the years because the company has changed as well. And I know you're interested in understanding how a large organization looks at sustainability. We look at sustainability from two perspectives: what we can do as an organization and what we must do as an organization to minimize our environmental impact and to operate our facilities, our supply chains responsibly, so that we are a responsible corporate citizen that provides well-being in the communities we operate. As a company, our largest environmental impact sits with the energy usage of our data centers. We use more than 1.4 terawatt hours of electricity every year, most of it in our data centers globally. So our imperative as an organization is decarbonizing our footprint in our cloud infrastructure and our data centers and facilities. We are also working very closely with our suppliers, so they also decarbonize their operations, and they also focus on respecting human rights in the supply chain. That is if you want, the key priority of Oracle as an organization. To achieve this vision, we have set goals for 2025 to be carbon neutral, to reduce our footprint by 50% by 2030, and then to achieve net zero by 2050. And with net zero, we consider not only the emissions that we generate as an organization within our four walls, we also look at reducing our emissions to zero in collaboration with our partners and suppliers, so that they also decarbonize their entire value chain. The interim goal is that to achieve carbon neutrality by 2025, we are powering our operations and our cloud with 100% renewable energy. We have asked our key suppliers to set emission reduction targets in place. We are also working to reduce our footprint in terms of water and waste generation. And we are looking at reducing our employee air travel emissions. As you can imagine, Oracle is a large company, 135,000 employees, operating in 75 countries. So achieving these goals means working with a wide number of stakeholders internally and externally, because these goals touch on every aspect of Oracle's business: how we manage our facilities, how we manage the data centers, the suppliers we pick, the materials we select. And that means that when you are structuring a program like this in a large organizations, you have to work with different functions. You have to work with a different number of colleagues and really coordinate what happens in each function of the company. And that's what makes this type of job particularly interesting, because you are really looking at how the organization operates in a 360 view that goes from operations to governance to how you manage data, how you really change the way you do business. As part of this journey, we have also signed up to the UN Race to Zero. We are members of the Exponential Roadmap Initiative. John Chorley is our Chief Sustainability Officer and my boss. He has led Oracle's own sustainability program for many years, since the inception in 2008. And we work with a number of executives at Oracle from different groups that are supporting our program. We meet with them on a regular basis. We keep them abreast of how the program is progressing. We could not achieve these goals and get Oracle to operate sustainably without the support of our 135,000 employees. We have a number of initiatives that we have launched to get employees to be part of this journey. One of the key programs is our Green Teams initiative. We have more than 45 green teams at Oracle. These are groups of employees that are passionate about the environment, and they really work with us to evangelize what we do from a sustainability perspective, but also to educate their colleagues, our sales teams, our development teams, in understanding what sustainability means. That we go beyond what we look at, from an environmental perspective. That sustainability is an overarching vision of how you operate as a company in the ecosystem you're present in. We have a very strong volunteering program that was launched back, in the 30 years ago. We award the top employees that are engaged in sustainability every year with our Sustainability Champions award, and we have a strong focus on diversity and inclusion. We are really conscious that to transform, innovate, you need diversity of thoughts and people that come from different backgrounds and have different life experiences. They bring creativity, they bring ingenuity. I am Italian, so it's a global company that is welcoming every person from different life paths. These are some of the initiatives that the Global Green Team program strongly supports. We go from the basics, like removal of single-use plastics in local offices, tree planting, beach cleaning, partnership with local non-profit to promote sustainability, like sustainable commuting, to events where we really talk to customers about what we do and what we can help them with our technology. The Global Diversity Program has established a framework of 5 main imperatives that we are using as our guiding lights for our diversity and inclusion initiatives at Oracle. The first, as a tech company, it's about data. It's about understanding how our workforce is distributed along, gender and ethnicity, so that we really have a picture of who is working for Oracle. We are investing in the next generation. We are recruiting with intention. We help develop our people and align what they want to do with their, with their goals, with their talent. And then we are strongly engaged with the communities we belong to really create this ongoing communication and bring more talent within Oracle. Inclusion, diversity, equity are important because they increase innovation, they increase thought leadership, they help attract top talent, and they help discussing the same strategies with our customers as well. And these are some of the initiatives that we launched in the last couple of years to really step up our game on D&I. We're focusing on unconscious bias training. We are developing programs to support teams and talent that are new to the industry or that are returning to work after hiatus. We are very, very supportive of talent that comes back to the workforce and new talent that is just entering the workforce. And it's a fascinating moment because a lot of new ideas and new programs have been implemented at Oracle on D&I, and we have been rewarded with awards and recognitions because of these initiatives in diversity and inclusion development. The second point of view from a sustainability perspective is what we can do for our customers, because as a company, obviously we have a substantial impact, but it's what our technology can do that really makes a difference. We do have a wide range of solutions, from cloud infrastructure to enterprise management solutions. There are solutions that organizations use to manage their financials, their supply chains, their human resources functions. So is there where you can really embed sustainability thinking in your IT system, so you're able to capture information, data, key performance indicators that can give you a sense of how you're performing and where you can improve. In the IT space, we always say you can't manage what you can't measure. And as a data provider and as a IT provider, that is what we can help with. And a lot of organizations are just right now looking into how they can streamline the process of capturing data that is relevant for their assessment of their environmental and social impact, so they can improve, they can set targets, and they can measure progress against these targets. The first value that you get by working with Oracle is the fact that by hosting your applications, your business applications on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, you immediately get an environmental benefit that comes from the fact that our data centers are highly efficient. you achieve a 70% reduction in energy usage by moving applications workload into data centers. We deploy servers, hardware that is engineered to be energy efficient. All our engineered systems are Energy Star certified. Our data centers are ISO certified. We are powering the data centers with renewable energy with the goal of being at 100% by 2025 in Europe. We are already carbon neutral. And then we have a fourth pillar of the program that sits in our supply chain. The hardware we design and manufacture is hardware that we take back at the end of the life cycle, because we have full control of the life cycle of the servers and storage equipment that we have deployed in the data centers. And then we are able to reuse and recycle our retired hardware at a very high rate of 99.6%. So we have this goal of achieving full circularity of materials and components in our supply chain in the long term, because of this ability to design servers that are tailored to the way we run our data centers. So the first benefit from a customer perspective is the ability to leverage highly efficient data centers. The second aspect we focus on as IT provider, because we are working primarily in the business-to-business space with large organizations, is how they can embed environmental and social considerations in how they run their financials and how they run their supply chain. And when I talk about supply chain is, for example, how you can use our tools to screen your suppliers based on how they are performing from an environmental and social perspective. Normally, you would select your vendors based on price, based on timely delivery, based on financial viability. We also help screening suppliers based on their credentials from an environmental and social perspective. And then if you deploy solutions like human capital management, which is a tool to manage your workforce, you can really look at how your workforce composition is shaping up, and how you can improve diversity and measure performance of your workforce. So that's what Oracle does, we have a number of customers that are leveraging our tools to achieve their sustainability goals. And obviously you can go on oracle.com/sustainability to get more details about what we do as a company and how we can help large organizations to run these type of programs. And I'm happy to answer questions, because I assume you might be curious to understand, more in depth, some of the challenges and lessons we have learned over the years.
Thank you so very much for the wonderful talk. Just wondering if there are any questions right now.
I don't have any questions, but I would just like to say thank you for this great talk. It was really interesting learning about how you help with the environment and sustainability through your role at Oracle. And it was really interesting to learn about.
So then, I'll ask you guys questions. What are you studying?
So in terms of sustainability, Viam, would you like to go first?
Yeah, so in terms of environment and sustainability, right now I'm an environmental intern at a nonprofit called Earth Talk. I got it a couple weeks ago, I applied for it, and through there I'll be writing in the Q&A column of the actual magazine, which focuses on environmental sustainability, green living, and combating climate change.
And is this a summer internship?
Yeah.
Yeah, so me personally, also kind of on the same page as Earth Talk. I actually wrote this article on seaweed. I'm not sure if you've heard of seaweed as a climate solution, but seaweed's actually incredibly underutilized, and it's very, very promising. And so I wrote a article on the intersection between econ and seaweed production. And so I
Okay.
actually got that published a couple months ago at the Environmental magazine, which is like affiliated with Earth Talk actually. So that's kind of my environmental side. So actually, I have a few questions. So the first is, how do you foresee the role of corporate social responsibility like evolving over the next 10 to 20 years?
So my vision is that in an ideal world, my job should not exist. And I hope my boss is not listening to that, but because the way you want sustainability as a concept to evolve is that it should be embedded in everything a company does, right? So you should not have, a sustainability, manager. You should have a finance expert, the CFO, that understands sustainability and embeds sustainability in the financial planning of the company. You should have the supply chain director, VP of supply chain, that includes sustainability consideration in how they're running their supply chain. So you might have maybe the role in the organization where you look at sustainability from a strategic perspective, but the evolution, if we really want to make a difference, is that it becomes really part of how you run a business. And then the sustainability team or the corporate social responsibility team as more sort of strategic, visionary type of role, where you might look at megatrends and identify opportunities for innovation, and that, it's probably how I would see the future. If you tell me how long it's going to take, it's still early days. I think there is a massive acceleration. I have seen more and more customers asking for help, but at the same time, there is more awareness of the type of transformation that we need to make in our supply chains, and how we procure materials, how we build tools, buildings, how we move around. So it's a fascinating space for your generation. I think the next 10 years will bring massive transformation, and there's a lot to do. And your generation has a big job, to fix some of the mistakes that our generations did in the next 20 years.
Thank you so much. So actually, on the same token, a lot of countries, the US included, have made targets for carbon neutrality, like somewhere around 2050, like 2060. So kind of on that page, how successful do you think current sustainability efforts are by corporations, and what do you think is the role that government should play in all of this?
Well, we are not on track with the goals, right? So I think somewhat the enterprise is ahead of governments, because we recognize that it's an existential risk if we don't tackle some of these challenges. So we're really accelerating in terms of how we enable transformation and innovation. But obviously, government has a role to play in really framing how you measure progress. I think one of the challenges that corporations have is that we are facing what we call survey fatigue. There are like an alphabet soup of protocols and reporting standards that sometimes force you to spend more time into reporting than actually making things or changing the way you run your business. So I think I see the role of government in more in terms of harmonizing the standards, so we know how to assess our progress and performance, and then we can really focus on innovation and transformation.
Thank you so much. 100% agree. And then just kind of on the topic of like the programs that Oracle has. So sustainability is like really, really broad. So what aspects, like what specific aspects do you see as the most promising, and what aspects do you see as the most urgently needs to be addressed?
Well, from my perspective, what I at Oracle, I think the most interesting aspect is working with our customers to really help them measuring their performance with our technology, with other technology as well, and leverage the power of the new tools we have out there, from artificial intelligence to track and trace capability to blockchain to machine learning, to really process data and identify trends, measure environmental impacts at a speed, with a performance level that was impossible to think of even only 5 years ago. So that is the most promising aspect, the power that technology has to help with making a change. So that's I would say the key. And then I can't say there is any, from a sustainability perspective, there is still a lot to do, obviously, but everything is important. So there's not a single aspect where I say, okay, no, that I would not prioritize that. It's we need to work in parallel on multiple initiatives, from supply chain to optimization to employee engagement. It will take collective efforts and collective action to really make the leap into a more sustainable business model and a more sustainable economy. So.
Thank you so very much. This is a wonderful discussion. And thank you so very much again for joining us today and sharing your thoughts on sustainability. And thank you everyone for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's always a pleasure. And if you have questions and you're interested, need advice, feel free to reach out.
I just had one more question I just wanted to ask, if you have time.
Sure, I have.
So I know you talked about like supply chains and how those play like a role in environmental sustainability. And obviously like COVID-19 has backed up supply chains. So like, do you think that has currently changed like the plans in regards to like environmental sustainability? Like, how do you think companies have like reacted to that?
It's a mixed bag. I would actually say that what happened with the pandemic is that companies realized how their supply chains were not equipped to assess risk, and they were not equipped to face disruption. And it's also something that investors realized as well. So now what they are focusing on is in some sectors, and keep in mind these changes based on the industry you're in. So in some sectors, they're focusing on shortening the supply chain. So having more reliance on local producers and local sourcing to have a buffer in case you have a major disruption and you don't have access anymore to your usual supply chain, right? So there is that element of need for understanding where the risk is, that became sort of came at the forefront of how supply chains are managed. The other thing that happened is that because of this disruption that we got from the pandemic, supply chains are need to be more transparent, and it needs to be easier to have visibility in what happens within your supply chain. If you are a large company that has multiple tiers of suppliers, sometimes you don't know what, that you have like maybe a 4th-tier supplier somewhere in Latin America or South Asia, because you're not aware of how the chain is mapped. So now companies, after what happened, they want to understand exactly how their supply chain is mapped around the world, because they can anticipate where they might find a problem, or if they're tied to a supplier that is in a region at risk for flooding or pandemics or droughts, and so they might want to have in their list of suppliers a potential substitute for that material or that component, so that if a disruption happens, they know that they can source that material from another supplier. So there is that need. That also brings more efficiency, and the fact that once you have more visibility and you can trace your sources of environmental and social impact in a more comprehensive way, you also identify opportunities for savings, both from a supply chain management and cost perspective, but also in terms of where you could reduce your carbon footprint or reduce your dependency on materials, reduce the use of water, waste you generate. The more visibility you achieve in the supply chain, the better it performs.
Thank you so much. And yeah, that was a great discussion. Thank you so very much again, and have a great day, everyone.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.